Thank you for listening to Heart Chat Stories. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, so don't forget to leave a comment and share these stories with someone who might need them. Each story is meant to help you pause, reflect, and think about your own relationships, how you love, how you heal, and how you grow. If you'd like more insight into the stories or want to add one to your next book club, visit graceguidance.com. You can find the full collection there, along with reflection prompts to keep the conversations going. And remember, every story in Heart Chat Stories is a chance to rediscover yourself, one honest chat at a time.
Noah Ash wiped his hands on his apron as he rounded the corner of aisle 6. The local grocery store buzzed with the steady hum of carts and casual chatter, his kind of music. At 36, he'd grown to love this rhythm, the simple satisfaction of managing people and keeping things running smoothly. "Hey, Darren," he called to one of his cashiers. "Remember, help people the way they want to be helped, not the way you think they need it." Darren grinned. Yeah, boss. You say that like 10 times a day." Noah chuckled. "And I'll say it 10 more until it sticks." Just as he turned to head toward the front, a loud clatter echoed through the aisle. A cart had tipped over, boxes of pasta and oranges rolling across the polished floor. One of his younger employees looked frozen in place, eyes wide. Noah hurried over, kneeling beside a woman trying to steady the mess. "I'm so sorry," the employee stammered. "I didn't see—" "It's okay," the woman said, smiling gently as she helped gather the scattered groceries. Noah recognized her then. "Miss Wood, right? You come in here pretty often." She looked up, amused. "You remember me?" "Of course. You're the one always speaking kindly to our customers and calling my staff by their names like we're all old friends." He handed her a fallen box of cereal. "Not many people do that these days." Tasha Wood laughed softly. "Well, I try to make people feel seen. It costs nothing to be kind." He nodded appreciatively, grabbing her cart and steadying it. "Still, let me make this right. I'll walk you to customer service and give you a gift card for the trouble." "Oh, that's not necessary," she said, standing. "I hadn't even paid for these yet. If anything's broken, you can have it back." Her eyes sparkled with humor. Noah grinned. "Now that's a first. Most folks would have yelled at me by now." "Maybe they weren't raised to appreciate help," Tasha said as she followed him toward the service desk. "I tell my daughter all the time, give kindness and it'll circle back." Noah glanced at her, impressed. "Sounds like you're raising her right. I've got a 13-year-old myself, trying to teach her that lesson every day." Tasha smiled as Noah finished talking about his daughter. "That's amazing," she said warmly. "You're raising her to be respectful and thoughtful, something we need more of these days." Noah nodded, then held out a small envelope. "And this," he said, handing it to her, "is a $100 store credit for your trouble." Her eyebrows lifted. $100? Oh, that's first date money, she laughed, a playful twinkle in her eyes. "Are you sure you want to let me run loose in your store with all that?" Noah grinned. "First date, huh? Well, maybe you should go out with me and see what a real first date with me is like." Tasha tilted her head, half teasing, half curious. "And how do you know I'm not married?" He chuckled, leaning lightly against the counter. "That was a slick way to find out." "Nicely done," Tasha laughed. A blush rose in her cheeks, but she kept her composure. "Listen, Noah, you should know I'm a late 70s baby. Your mom and I are probably the same age. I don't want any trouble, and I don't do drama, especially not the kind that comes with baby mamas or unfinished business. I like peace, and I like non-confrontational company." Noah crossed his arms and smiled easily. "Well, Miss Wood, I'll have you know my mom's an early 50s baby, and I'm a mid-80s man, so that doesn't put us too far apart. As for baby mama drama, there's none. My daughter's mom is incarcerated for life." He said it plainly, no shame in his tone, just quiet acceptance. "So," he added, tilting his head, Would you like to go out and spend that $100 with me? Tasha blinked, a little surprised by his honesty. There was something steady about him, open, grounded, genuine. Noah Ashe wasn't the kind of man who played games. She glanced down at the envelope, then back up at him. You really don't give up easily, do you? Noah smiled. Only when I think it's worth the effort. There was a pause, soft, unspoken interest sparking between them. Noah couldn't help but notice how natural she made him feel. Tasha was pretty, charming, and funny, but more than that, she carried warmth. She'd lifted his mood every time she came into the store, but this was the first time he'd let himself admit how much he looked forward to seeing her. Age didn't matter. He preferred a woman who knew herself over young girls pretending they did. He'd dated that crowd before. They'd been embarrassed to say they were seeing the grocery store manager. Tasha didn't strike him as the type to care about that, and that alone made him want to know her even more. I'll think about it, Tasha said, smiling faintly as she tucked the gift card into her purse. Noah watched her walk away toward the registers, her calm confidence leaving a trail of thought behind. He was still staring when a voice broke through. So you just gonna stand there with those young boy crush eyes? Noah turned and frowned at Darren, who was grinning way too wide. Don't you have some milk to restock or something to clean up? Darren crossed his arms, still smirking. Nope, I'm over here cleaning up the rejection you just got. Noah raised an eyebrow. And how do you know I got rejected? Which, for the record, I didn't. Darren pointed toward the front of the store, where Tasha was paying. I can read body language. Don't worry, she likes you. He grabbed the yellow "Caution Wet Floor" sign and started walking away. But she got you thinking, though, huh? Noah shook his head, trying not to smile. Get back to work, Darren. Yeah, Darren called over his shoulder. Just don't let her see you watching her again. You look like a Hallmark movie in progress. Noah chuckled, leaning against the counter for a moment. Maybe Darren was right. He didn't know where it would lead, but he knew one thing for sure. He was definitely interested in Miss Tasha Wood. Tasha pushed her cart across the lot, the late afternoon sun casting soft gold across the pavement. She unlocked her trunk and turned to start loading, but before she could lift the first bag, a familiar voice spoke behind her. I couldn't let you lift these by yourself, Noah said, already picking up the heavier bags. You know we offer walkout service. Tasha stepped back, one eyebrow raised. Oh, really? This must have started today because I've been here plenty of times and never been met at my car by the store manager. Noah flashed a grin as he arranged the bags neatly. That's because you've never walked away from him without agreeing to a date. Tasha folded her arms, amused. Is that right? I gave you an answer. Didn't you hear me say, I'll think about it? Oh, I heard you, he said, closing the trunk carefully. But that didn't sit right with me. I was hoping for a yes. Tasha smiled lightly. Well, I could always say no. Noah turned toward her, the humor in his eyes softening into something more serious. Up close, Tasha noticed how handsome he really was. His beard framed a face both kind and strong, and those deep brown eyes, steady and knowing, felt like they saw straight through her guard. He wasn't thin, but built solid, like someone who used his strength often but never flaunted it. The faint scent of his woodsy cologne drifted toward her, rich and warm. You wouldn't say no to a kind, considerate, funny, generous man who gives $100 gift cards, would you? Noah teased. Not when he's ready to beg for a yes. Tasha shifted her weight and reached for her car door, but Noah beat her to it, pulling it open smoothly. You know they've got cameras out here, she said, half smiling. Pretty sure the store manager flirting with a customer breaks some kind of rule. Noah leaned against the doorframe, his tone calm but playful. Rules only apply to staff members, ma'am. I'm just assisting a valued customer whose cart we accidentally knocked over, making sure she's completely satisfied so she doesn't call corporate." Tasha's lips curved into a knowing smirk. "Uh-huh." "And," he added, eyes still locked on hers, "if they are watching, I hope they get this part on camera. So, what do you say, Miss Wood? Can I take you out?" Tasha slid into the driver's seat and reached into the center console. She pulled out a sleek business card and handed it to him. "Call me Tasha. And I guess you'll say you got my card to, what, check on me?" Noah took it carefully, glancing at her name before stepping back with a grin. "Ah, yes, I didn't think of that," he winked. "I'll be calling you Miss Tasha." She laughed as she started the engine, shaking her head. "We'll see, Noah." He watched as she drove away, her taillights disappearing toward the main road. The scent of her perfume still lingered faintly in the air. 2 days passed before Noah finally worked up the nerve to call. He'd picked up his phone a dozen times, each time putting it back down, reminding himself he didn't want to come off too eager. But truth be told, he'd thought about Tasha every hour since she drove away. He sat in his office after closing, the hum of the refrigerator units faint in the background. The store lights were dimmed, and it was quiet enough for his thoughts to sound louder than usual. He glanced at the business card again. Tasha Wood, event stylist. "All right," he muttered, exhaling. "You said you'd call, so call." He dialed. It rang once, twice. "Hello?" Her voice was calm, rich, exactly like he remembered. "Hi, Miss Wood. Tasha," he corrected himself quickly. "This is Noah from—" "I know who you are," she said, a smile audible in her tone. "Didn't take you long to find my number." Noah chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Well, I had to make sure you were okay after that tragic grocery cart incident. Corporate demands a follow-up, you know." "Oh, I'm sure they do," she replied, playing along. "And do all your follow-ups happen after hours?" "Only for very special customers," he said. "You still thinking about it?" "Thinking about what?" she asked, pretending not to know. "The date," Noah said. "You left me hanging with a maybe." She laughed softly, and the sound went straight to his chest. "Persistent much?" "Nope. Persistence is a skill," he said. "Part of management training." "Well," she said after a pause, her voice thoughtful now, "persistence can be attractive when it's respectful." "I'm all about respect," he said quietly. "How about dinner? Something simple, no pressure. You pick the place, I'll show up and behave myself." Tasha hesitated for just a beat too long. He could hear her exhale softly. "You know what? All right, Noah, dinner it is." "Fair enough," he said, grinning. "Where do you want to meet?" "There's a little place off Main, Harlow's Bistro," she said. "Thursday evening around 7? 7 it is. And don't worry, I won't bring a cart." She laughed again, then said, "Good night, Noah. Good night, Tasha." When the line clicked, Noah sat there for a moment, phone still in his hand, a grin slowly spreading across his face. For the first time in years, he was looking forward to something that had nothing to do with work. The drive to his mother's house always gave Noah time to think. The sun was easing down, streaking the sky with bands of gold and soft gray as he turned off the main road toward the quiet subdivision where she lived. He had a lot on his mind, more than usual. For 3 years, he'd managed the store with pride. It wasn't glamorous, but it was his, and he'd built something solid there. Steady pay, a loyal team, and quarterly bonuses that made all the long days worth it. He was clearing 6 figures now, something the younger version of himself would have never imagined. He thought about his daughter, Rain, 13 going on 20. She was bright, full of questions, and already planning for college. He'd managed to get her into a college prep school, one of his proudest accomplishments. Life was stable, comfortable. But Noah wanted more than comfort. He glanced at the dashboard clock as the road curved past a row of oak trees. A new house was on the horizon, a place with land, space to grow things. His mother had always loved gardening, and he could already picture her hands in the soil, laughing, teaching Rain how to plant herbs and vegetables. He smiled at the thought. But beneath all that success and structure was a quiet longing. He wanted a partner. Not just someone to come home to, but someone who understood what peace felt like. Someone soft-spoken but strong, graceful in the way she moved through life. Tasha Wood. He said her name silently as he drove. She wasn't what he expected to find in the middle of his routine. He'd never dated anyone older, but there was something captivating about her, something youthful and grounded all at once. The way she spoke, the way she joked, it was playful but calm, confident but not loud. And those legs. Lord, those legs. He'd noticed them the first time she walked past him in the store, her shorts neat, her stride sure. But it wasn't just that. It was how she carried herself, like a woman who'd lived enough to know her worth, yet still had fire in her eyes. Noah smiled to himself, shaking his head as he turned onto his mom's street. Maybe he was crazy for feeling this drawn to her after just a few conversations. But something about it felt right. As he pulled into his mother's driveway, he felt lighter, hopeful even. The thought of dinner with Tasha didn't make him nervous. It made him excited. He was finally at a stage in his life where he didn't need to chase chaos. He was ready to build something lasting. And maybe, just maybe, Tasha Wood was the beginning of that. Harlow's Bistro was tucked between a bookstore and a florist, the kind of place people discovered by accident and then never stopped talking about. The low hum of jazz and the faint scent of roasted garlic drifted into the evening air as Noah stepped through the door, smoothing the front of his shirt. He'd gotten there 5 minutes early, on purpose. He wanted a moment to steady his nerves. He spotted her before she saw him. Tasha sat near the window, the golden light from the hanging lamps softening her features. Her hair framed her face perfectly, and the simple black dress she wore was more elegance than effort. She looked calm, composed, and absolutely stunning. Noah exhaled quietly. She's even more beautiful outside the store. Tasha, he said as he approached. She looked up, smiling in that slow, knowing way. Noah. He pulled out the chair across from her. I hope I'm not late. You're early, she said, glancing at her watch. Points for punctuality. I try, he said, settling in. You look incredible, by the way. Thank you, she said, the corners of her mouth lifting. You clean up nicely yourself, Manager Ash. He laughed. You really gonna call me that all night? Depends, she said playfully. You still planning to fire me if I don't give excellent service? Noah grinned. I only fire people who make me nervous. Her eyes met his across the table. And do I make you nervous? Absolutely, he said without hesitation. For a moment, the world around them faded into the background. The clinking of glasses, the soft chatter, the music. Just two people who had met by chance, sharing something neither of them had planned for. The waiter arrived, took their orders, and disappeared again, leaving behind the warm glow of candles and the quiet rhythm of curiosity growing between them. Tasha stirred her drink thoughtfully. So tell me something. Why grocery management? You seem, I don't know, like there's more to your story. Noah leaned back, considering her question. I like people, he said simply. I like solving problems, keeping things running, making folks feel seen. I've had other jobs, but none that let me build something that feels like a community. I know it's not fancy, but it's honest work, and I'm proud of it. Tasha nodded, her eyes softening. That's rare. Most people chase titles, not meaning. He smiled. What about you? Event stylist, right? That sounds more interesting than mine. She chuckled. It's beautiful work, but it's work. Long hours, demanding clients, last-minute changes. People think it's glamorous, but most days I'm sweating in warehouses trying to make someone else's dream look effortless. Noah watched her as she spoke, admiring the calm confidence in her tone. Sounds like we both make other people's lives easier, he said. Maybe that's why we get along, she said. Maybe. Noah set down his fork and leaned slightly forward, his tone gentle but curious. So, he said, his smile soft, what's a beautiful woman like you doing single? Tasha chuckled, shaking her head. That's a dangerous question, Noah. He grinned. Maybe, but I'm willing to take the risk. She took a slow sip of her drink before answering. My husband divorced me about 3 years ago. Told me we'd outgrown each other and that he wanted to be by himself. Her voice stayed even, but there was a quiet ache underneath it. I just had one of my 4 children still at home then, my youngest, Kason. He's 19 now, in college. She smiled faintly, pride lighting her expression. My other 2 sons are up north, playing semi-pro basketball and running a sneaker bar together. And my daughter, she lives here. We meet 3 times a week to talk about her pet grooming business. She started it when she was 14. Noah listened, impressed. Sounds like you raised some driven kids. I tried, she said softly. They still see their father from time to time. He's doing his thing, I guess. Noah heard the pause in her voice, the small shadow of sadness she tried to hide. She went on, her eyes thoughtful. I wanted the forever fairy tale, but that didn't happen. When a person doesn't want to be with you anymore, there's nothing you can do but take control of your life and make it what you want. Noah nodded slowly, taking a sip of water before asking, How do you feel about dating now? Have you gone out much since the divorce? Tasha let out a quiet laugh, shaking her head. There have been suitors, as my mama would say, mainly his friends. Noah raised a brow. His friends? Oh, yes, she said, amused. They'd call and ask me out, saying my ex was crazy for walking away. Crazy? Noah echoed, picking up his fork again. They weren't wrong. That made her smile, genuinely this time. You're smooth, Noah Ash. He shrugged with mock innocence. Honest, actually. Tasha leaned back, her laughter fading into a sigh. But I don't like drama. I'm not someone who wants to be passed around and talked about. I value peace too much. Noah nodded in understanding. So, am I your first date since? Don't flatter yourself, she teased. He laughed. Okay, but seriously? She smiled, finally conceding. Yes, you're my first real date since the divorce. I went to the gym with a guy for a while. We'd grab lunch sometimes, but it never turned into anything. Noah smiled quietly. Then I'll try not to mess this up. Then don't, Tasha said softly, her gaze steady. I won't. I am a man who knows what he wants. The evening air was cool as they stepped out of Harlow's bistro. A soft breeze carried the scent of jasmine from the flower shop next door. The parking lot lights cast a golden hue on the cars as they walked slowly toward Tasha's. Noah slipped his hands into his pockets. You know, he began, I don't understand why women today are so focused on how much money a man makes. Tasha looked over at him, curious. They want security, she said. All women want to feel like they'll be taken care of by their partner. Noah nodded. And there's nothing wrong with that. When they've shown the same level of adding value. It's hard to want to take care of someone when their motive isn't to be an asset to you, but to themselves. He shook his head, his voice carrying a quiet frustration. The women I've met lately have nothing going for themselves. No hobbies, maybe a job, but no passion. And half of them look down on me because I work at a grocery store. I mean," he glanced at her with a wry grin, "my paycheck ain't short change. I could support a woman. She wouldn't have to work if she didn't want to." Tasha smiled, the corners of her eyes softening. "Sounds like you've been disappointed in your dating efforts, Manager Ash." Noah chuckled lightly. "You could say that. The maturity's been a little weak." They walked a few more steps in silence, the sound of their shoes brushing against the pavement. Then Tasha sensed something shift in his tone, an undercurrent of hurt beneath his calm. She stopped near her car and turned to face him. "Can I ask something personal?" "Sure," he said, meeting her gaze. "Your daughter's mother. What happened?" Noah's smile faded. He took a deep breath and leaned back against the side of her car, the metal cool against his palms. "Sandra made some really bad choices," he said quietly. "We were struggling when Rain was born. Money was tight. I told her I'd handle it, that things would get better if we were patient. But she didn't wait." He exhaled, the memory pressing heavy on his chest. "She was working at a pawn shop and decided to take some money. The owner caught her. They fought. She said it was an accident. She grabbed a piece of broken glass and stabbed him. It was all on camera." He looked away, his voice almost breaking. "They gave her life. Robbery and murder." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of the wind filled the silence between them. Tasha stepped closer, her expression soft and full of empathy. She reached out and gently rubbed his back, the way you do when words aren't enough. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "That's a lot to carry." Noah nodded, his jaw tightening as he tried to steady his breathing. "Yeah, some days are better than others. I try to keep my focus on Rain." Tasha moved closer, and before she could second-guess it, she wrapped her arms around him. The hug was warm, grounding, one of those embraces that said, "You're not alone." Noah's arms came around her slowly, almost unsure at first, then firm and certain. When she pulled back slightly, their eyes met, close enough to feel each other's breath. He brushed his thumb along her cheek, a silent thank you for the comfort she'd given him. Then he kissed her. It started soft, hesitant, but the connection between them, built on laughter, honesty, and a night of truth, deepened quickly. His hand found the back of her neck. Hers rested against his chest. The world seemed to still. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were breathing a little heavier, hearts unsteady but aligned. Tasha looked up at him, eyes searching. "You're full of surprises, Manager Ash." Noah smiled faintly, voice low. "You bring that out in me, Miss Wood." She laughed softly and opened her car door. "Good night, Noah." He stepped back, watching her slide into the driver's seat. "Good night, Tasha." As her car pulled away, he stood under the glow of the parking lot light, a quiet smile tugging at his lips. He hadn't planned to open up that much. He hadn't planned to kiss her either. But somehow, with Tasha Wood, it all felt right. Tasha's phone buzzed on the metal work table beside her. She was halfway through reviewing shipment invoices when she glanced down at the screen. "Noah, I want to kiss you again."
Thank you for listening to Heart Chat Stories. Every story is written with love, to heal, to inspire, and to remind you that new beginnings are always possible. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so others can find healing through story. Until next time, keep your heart open and your spirit lifted.